you with the legendary activist, Dr. Claud Anderson. We're going to get started. It's 6 p.m., which is in about 10 minutes. I want to welcome everyone here today. I'm going to put myself on mute in order to get myself set up here, but thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We are going to get started at 6 p.m. Okay, all right, everybody, I am back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to be on with the legendary Dr. Claud Anderson. He and his people did confirm, so don't forget to put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. Welcome to the 10K Project. Tonight is definitely a time for all of us to have our pens and papers together. Take some notes, get your favorite note-taking device. This is being streamed live to YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. So if you missed something, there will be a replay on all of those social channels. And we also are going to be sending all of you the replay by email, so don't worry about that at all. But in the meantime, put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you this evening. Super excited to have everybody here. Welcome to the 10K Project. Oh, somebody's asking who? Dr. Claud Anderson. Okay, Dr. Claud Anderson wrote this book, PowerNomics. It's a legendary book in the Black community. It is the national plan to empower Black America. And he is, an OG in this. He has gone to bat for the Black community with regards to helping us get reparations and so much more. So we're super excited to have Dr. Claud Anderson joining us tonight at 6 p.m. For those of you who are new, the 10K Project is the nation's largest community of Black people who are coming together to help fund Black businesses, as well as invest in alternative assets. So everything we do around here is all about building wealth in your own economy, your own households, bridging the wealth gap within your own households, and then how can we do it as a community? So what Dr. Claud is coming to talk about tonight is right in line with us and with our mission. So again, don't forget to put your city and state in the chat. We're going to start recognizing you. I have one of my co-founders here. The others are coming momentarily, but we've got in the house, we've got Boynton Beach, Florida. We've got Indianapolis. We've got Charlottesville, Sun City, California. Hollywood, California, Highland, Indiana, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Virginia's in the house. We have Charlotte's here from Virginia as well. She's in Facebook. We have more people coming. We have people in Facebook and YouTube. We're live on Periscope as well. So everybody in Facebook and YouTube tonight, I can see you. I'm going to be going back and forth. So don't forget to put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. We've got Virginia in the house. We have South Carolina. We have Georgia. Georgia, and like, look, the nation's looking at you all right now. So welcome. We've got Maryland in the house. So we've also have one of Dr. Claud Anderson's individuals, people here with us, Mr. Gary Shelton. So welcome, Gary.
Shelton, hello.
Thank you. Hello, happy to be here.
Yes, we also have Herb Strather here. Well, hello, Herb.
Oh, hey, Herb. I didn't see you. I'm sorry, my Zoom, I keep it a little compressed. So, Mr. Strather, how are you today?
Exactly.
I'm doing fine.
I'm going to change your name on here.
Okay. And we have the beautiful Dr. Keisha Waddell from the Big D, Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit is
Absolutely.
represented.
Anderson is calling me.
Y'all are representing. Herb is in Detroit. So yes, we've got Baltimore in the house. We've got San Francisco. People saying we're ready. So yeah, so we are super excited. I'm seeing people on YouTube now. We've got Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got Tampa. We've got Michigan, Chicago, Los Angeles, New Jersey. Want to welcome everybody. Got Petersburg, Virginia here in Florida. I see you. I see you, Woodbridge, Virginia. I see everybody here this evening. Want to say welcome. Houston, Texas is in the house. We're so excited to have all of you here this evening. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes or so when Dr. Claud comes on himself. We also have a couple of other co-founders of the organization that I'm sure will be coming on because we've been talking about this legendary opportunity here to see Dr. Claud for a couple of weeks now. Great news for everybody. Great news for, I'm going to put you on mute, Gary, just so. Let's see here. Oh, maybe Dr. Keisha. Oh, no.
Oh, do I have control?
I'm in the wrong place. Okay, never mind. So great news. Number one is opportunity zones. We heard a lot about opportunity zones when they came out, and then everything kind of fizzled out, and you know, you have to kind of look for the information in order to know what happened with opportunity zones. Put a 1 in the chat if you would like somebody to come to the 10K project to talk about what's happening with opportunity zones and how we can get our fair share of that funding as a people. Put a 1 in the chat. I need to see the ones. Perfect. You're in the right place. I see the ones here. So we have Benroy July, Esquire, attorney at law, coming. He just confirmed with me today. The date is going to be January 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So you want to be in the place. Look. A lot of us have talked about this opportunity zone money and whether or not it's really going to come to us. This is an opportunity for us to have that discussion. A whole lot of money floating around out there, especially with the changing administration. Where's our share? Where's our share? We need to know that. So. And we have one of our other co-founders coming on, Eric. So we've got Bronx in here. We've got Atlanta in here. Super excited to have all of you. Next week, 6 p.m. next week, 6 p.m. Monday, what is it, December 14th. We have a lovely woman named Holly Reed coming on to talk about teach your child how to fish. She wrote a book about that. It's all about how to teach your young kids about financial literacy. So whether or not you have young kids, grandkids, whatever, it's going to be family friendly. Invite them on. It's going to be an opportunity for you to come and learn that. And that could be a great stocking stuffer or a great gift for some of you to give for the holiday season. So hello, Dr. Anderson. How are you today?
Oh, I'm holding on tight for a poor black man.
Well, look, you're rich to us in terms
are
of the
definitely
contribution
rich.
that you have given. So thank you so
I,
much for being
I
here.
sure wish I could convert all that love and care to some money that I could walk to the bank with as quickly as I could.
Well,
But I deeply appreciate that though.
Let's talk about that tonight, because I think, so I reread PowerNomics last week and I highlighted a whole bunch of stuff. And I think with what we're doing within the 10K project, we can't do everything within your plan, but there are some things that we are going to be able to do. And you may be able to give us some words of wisdom as a community in order to implement the things that you talked about within PowerNomics. So I'm so glad to have everyone here this evening. Robin, great to see you as well, my dear.
Thank you. You as well.
So I'm going to take 2 minutes and just talk a little bit about what the 10K project is and how we can use it in order to build Black wealth and help Black businesses. And then I'm going to let Dr. Claud give us an introduction to what PowerNomics is and, you know, how we can use PowerNomics in order to build the Black community. I've got a ton of questions, probably more than I'll ever be able to ask him. My co-founders have questions as well. You have questions, don't forget to put them in the Q&A within Zoom. That'll be the best way for us to see them. And we're just going to have a great time tonight talking about wealth building in the Black community and Black prosperity mattering to all of us. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. And there is a way for us to build Black wealth and help Black businesses. Businesses need money in order to start and grow. Black businesses are the least funded, least likely to be funded businesses out there. In fact, there's a report that said that our businesses get 1/3 of the funding of our counterparts, meaning for every dollar that our counterparts start off with funding within their businesses, we get 33 cents. And also, even if that business is funded, that Black business is funded by chance, the community usually doesn't have a chance to participate in that business's growth. So there was recently a Black-owned business that was sold for over $1 billion. That money doesn't trickle down to the community and to the individuals within the community. And there is a way for us, we the people, to share in the profits of businesses and earn returns on our investments from the businesses, from the funding that we would be providing to Black businesses. Thanks to the Jobs Act of 2012, which was signed by President Obama, Black entrepreneurs have another option to get the money they so desperately need from everyday people like you and I. We are called the crowd, and this is something called crowdfunding. Number one, this is not a susu, and this is not a fund. This is something called equity crowdfunding. Is actually managed and governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Association. And the way that it would work within the 10K project is, by law, entrepreneurs can raise up to $1,070,000. The 10K project has applied to be an equity crowdfunding portal specifically for Black businesses. Starting in January 2021, that amount, the amount of money that entrepreneurs can raise, goes up to $5 million. So our process is going to be Black entrepreneurs get to come to us, potentially if we're approved, to apply for funding. If those Black businesses are accepted, then the business owner gets to do something we call a bet on Black pitch. It's similar to a Shark Tank style pitch. where the business owner talks about what their business is, how much funding they're looking for, and how the community is going to get their money back, when is the community going to get their money back, etc. And then you as the individual gets to decide if you want to invest in that business in exchange for partial ownership or equity or shares in that company. And the minimum investment is $100 because we wanted to make this affordable for everybody. And if the company makes it big, then the crowd or the investors share in the profit. If not, investors only lose what they put into the company. So the 10K Project's name comes from this concept. If 10,000 everyday people put $100 each into a business, the community can raise $1 million for that business. We can fund our own companies. We can profit from our own innovation. We can create jobs in the community, and we can use this legislation to help build Black wealth. Again, we have filed for our SEC and FINRA approval for this, because you can't just slap up a website and say I'm an equity crowdfunding portal. You have to get fingerprinted, FBI background checks, all of that stuff in order to do this. But our team is well underway with the process of filing with the SEC and FINRA to be approved as an equity crowdfunding portal. And our ecosystem, I believe, is closely tied to PowerNomics, where we're looking at entrepreneurs who are coming in to get funding, everyday people who are investors who are willing to put money into these companies, and service professionals like CPAs and attorneys and digital marketers, project managers, etc. If all of us come together, we can build Black wealth. That's the ecosystem that we're building here. So we want to invite you to become a member of the 10K Project. You'll get VIP notifications regarding our application. You also get to join the Black Family Wealth Challenge, which I'll talk later on about. We also have wealth building webinars and a knowledge center, all sorts of stuff happening. It's $100 one-time payment. You get access for life. It is at the10kproject.com, so you can go check it out. There is no information about the equity crowdfunding portal on the website because that's illegal for us to have it by law, but we are able to talk about it in a forum like this. So we just want to let everyone know what we are doing, our part to help build Black wealth. And with that, I see Dr. Claud moving here. I want to give Gary a chance to just say a couple of words while Dr. Claud is coming back here. Gary, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, well, it's so ironic that I actually raised over $5 million for the first Obama-Biden campaign with a crowdfunding strategy, the largest contribution being $25. And so this was before, obviously, the Jobs Act, because he hadn't become president yet. And so now you can do equity crowdfunding. I met Dr. Anderson 25 years ago, approximately, at the Council of Baptist Pastors luncheon. He and I were both speaking. He was the keynote speaker, and I spoke just before him. At that time, I was in the telephone business. We had the only Black-owned facilities-based telephone company in America, and we were providing telephone service to the Department of Defense, the White House, and Camp David. And Dr. Anderson, after he heard me say that, right there at that luncheon, he came up with this slogan: if this telephone service is good enough for the White House, it's got to be good enough for your house. And so he and I have been friends ever since, and I traveled to California with him. We spoke at Dr. Fred Price's church, and then we went to Oakland. And I tell you, although I know many successful Black business persons, I don't know anyone that is a peer to Dr. Claud Anderson when it comes to what happened to Black folk and what should they do about it. I don't know anyone that is his peer. I'm just so happy to have met him, so happy to have known him for all of this time. And I realize that, like all of us, he's getting older, he's getting tired, more tired. And I know that just this year, he's begun to have some health issues that he hadn't had in the past. And I feel his frustration because he's been telling us what to do for so long. And it's like we just won't hear him and we just won't do it. And it's just crazy. And right now, as my partner Herb Strather likes to say, money is free. Interest rates are so low, you may as well say it's free money. It's time to move. It's time to do something right now. Now, Doc, no one can really speak for you like you can speak for yourself. I've seen Doc go 2-3 hours without notes and just run it down. Doc, talk to us.
Thank you very much, Gary, for that very kind introduction. And for the panelists, you see what happens when you pay a person well. He'll give you some good compliments, you know. But you got to pay him right, otherwise he won't go through. But I love him for it, even if he didn't. But again, let me thank you all for inviting me to participate in your program. And as I noted earlier from Sherry's presentation, you're on the right track. Let me say that you're on the right track. And as I said, the whole concept of PowerNomics was to teach my people how to learn to come together and pool their resources, every resource, pool their emotions, their psychology, their philosophies, their wealth, their power, their votes, pull it into a pot, into a central pile, then go vertical, never go horizontal on any issue in a democracy. That is a death now. Never go horizontal. Anything horizontal pertains to everybody. Vertical is straight up black, from the highest paid black to the lowest paid black. Everything is vertical. Every source of power, that's why I call it PowerNomics. That came from, economics is a Greek word. And if I just took the Greek word economics and cut the echo off the front of it and took power and stuck it onto the back, power says that you cannot do anything. You cannot move people, items or objects or anything without power. You have to have some source of power. And if I can concentrate everything that all forms of power that Black folk have into a pile and attach it to economics, then we got PowerNomics, we can move. But unfortunately, I've been trying to preach that now for, as Gary said, for almost 60 years. And I don't know if Black folk hear me or they just shut it out. But I've been telling the same thing. I was telling the same thing during the Civil Rights Movement back in 1950 and 60, saying you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Our issue is not social integration. Our issue is not civil rights. Those issues have been corrupted, misused, and abused. So now they're negatives for Black folk. And you should stay as far away from social integration because you cannot integrate and social. And so if I were to give you a cup of black coffee right now, you started integrating everything into it, whether it's sugar or milk or whatever it is, then what you've done, you weaken it. You cannot strengthen black coffee by putting cream into it. You cannot strengthen anything by pouring everything into it. And so consequently, PowerNomics is a concept that says, learn how to come together, respect, appreciate, and learn how to cooperate with each other. Because the thing that slavery did that effectively, that has never been addressed, not by any civil rights leader, not anybody, any civil rights practitioner, including Martin Luther King or Obama. I don't follow their philosophies. I'm the Merrick that says, no, I'm not going that way. Because everything is so corrupted, and none of those things will benefit Black folk. So let me go back for a second. We start talking about wealth. We first have to understand how you get wealth and what wealth is. I found about 100 million Black folk don't even know what wealth is. They keep confusing wealth with income. Income is not wealth. Wealth is what you have left over after you pay all your darn bills. I don't care who's paying your salary. Wealth is what is left after you pay all your bills. Now, how do you get wealth? Wealth comes from labor. Labor. You cannot get wealth without labor. Somebody has to labor to produce it. I can go out and find a gold field right now. It's in the ground. But unless someone goes out there and exercises and using their energies to dig that out and process it, it has not wealth. It won't be wealth until it's been processed, until it's refined to where it has a value. Now, Black folk do not have any significant wealth. And so consequently, when I started talking about the Opportunity Act, I'm a little bit in favor of it and I'm a little bit against it for very obvious reasons. And but let me go back to my point. My point is if you're going to get wealth, you got to teach Black folk capitalism. Capitalism means, what is capitalism? I've asked Black folk for 50 years, what is capitalism? Never found one that could tell me. They compare it with something like socialism, being the opposite of socialism or something. That's not it. Capitalism came into existence in the 1500s. It came into after Columbus discovered America, and in 1488, when Pope Innocent made a big pronouncement that says that in the future, we're going to start using Black folk. We're going to start using Black folk to work around the Vatican, because go back further in 1445, Henry the Navigator went around the coast of Africa and picked up about 16 Blacks and took them back to Italy and gave them to the Pope, to the Vatican. And the Vatican used those 16 Blacks as slaves in the Vatican and used them from about 1445 up to about 1488. And in 1488, Pope Innocent said, hey, this is a good thing. We've had these Blacks around here clean up the place, mopping, scrubbing the floors, being guards in Vatican. So no, we're going to use these things, because prior to that time, the Vatican or the Catholics, am I talking too fast for you all?
Keep going, Doc.
No, keep going, Doc. You're fine.
Yes.
Okay. So the Vatican, see, the Catholics were the primary promoters of slavery up until that time, during the 1400s. And they felt some kind of moral obligation to go into areas where whites had began to exploit people and began to try to save them by bringing in morality to them. And at that time, the biggest people they were enslaving were in a few countries, like in India, or where they had some Indians, and they were enslaving here and there. They were going in and preach to them about saving their souls. But they always used Indians. But in 1488, Pope Innocent came out with a public edict that says, hey, no longer use Indians for labor. Even we got something that's even better than Indians. These are the people that Henry the Navigator gave us back in 1445. These are Black folk. They're excellent, they're strong, and they're willing to be able to do anything just to get along and be accepted. And so he started saying in the future that you must follow these mandates if you're going to expect the Catholic Church to come and aid you. Because up to that time, you could not have a slave unless only in 3 different ways. You could have a slave based on religious persecution. And so contrary to where all these things you hear on these Fox channels and these conservative rednecks talking about, we've always had slavery. Yeah, you have always had slavery, but not this kind of slavery. So the first, you had religious slavery, where a religious group was exploiting the people based on a religious basis. That was the only way you can have a slave. The second way you can have a slave is based on personal indebtedness. Black folk didn't have indebtedness to anybody in the world. They have no justification for enslaving Black folk. And so they did not have their own religion, was ancestor worship. They didn't belong to they were not Muslims or Catholics or Protestants or Baptists or Mormons. They believed in ancestor worship. So Blacks was not indebted to anybody for their religion. And the last way you have a slave is if you were a prisoner of a war or a conflict. Blacks had never left Africa, basically, for once or twice when they went into Europe. They weren't a warlike people. They were a community-based people, always wanted to get along. And so Blacks were not prisoners. So they said, so they only had 3 kinds of prisoners up to this point. But they wanted another kind of prisoner. They said, now let's make prisoners out of people based on skin color. That was a public edict, was put out in 1488 by Pope Innocent. And that went all the way over to when Columbus discovered America. When he discovered America, found all that free land and said, I found those land around there. There's only a few Indians around, about 200,000 Indians. We can go over there and take that over. And right now, Europe is in distress, economic distress. They're being overrun with crime, poverty, and all kinds of illnesses. And so they said, well, let's take these slaves and put them together with that free land in the West, North America, South America, and Central America, and let's go develop the Western world based on a new kind of slavery, a new kind of slaves. And that's where that whole doctrine started. And that's where capitalism started. So capitalism means owning and controlling the land. Remember this: owning and controlling the land, the resources, the tools, and using other people's labor to enrich yourself. That is capitalism. Don't listen to some of these philosophical people that are teaching college to tell you what capitalism is. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Capitalism is those three things: owning and controlling the land, the tool, and the resources, and using other people's labor to enrich yourself. That's capitalism. And W.D. Du Bois defined it another way in 1915. He says capitalism is owning 3 to 4 ears of corn. 1 ear of corn you use for planting, another ear of corn you use for seeds, for planting for the next year. You eat 1 ear of corn and you sell one. Eat, saving, and selling. That's capitalism in 1915 by Du Bois.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So we have a wonderful audience here of young developers and young people all over America that want to get in and make a difference. So maybe we spend a little time talking about what do you think we should be doing now as a community. I mean,
That's right.
we've gotten so comfortable being on the bottom, if you can believe it. And here in Detroit, I mean, it's a tough situation when you think about all of the restaurants. We got a bunch of Coney Islands. We must have 1,000 of them in the city. And then we think about all of the gas stations, except for 3, all of the grocery stores. I mean, all of the liquor stores, mostly all of the mechanical shops, I mean, that are owned by others. And I mean, it's pretty pitiful. And it seems to me like this is a golden moment in time, you know, where the sun, the moon, and the stars have kind of aligned, if you might.
Hey, Herb, don't miss the real estate. Who owns the real estate now in Detroit?
Well, see, in Detroit, the real estate used to be owned by Black people, but now they have a minority interest. We're the only city in the world that would allow one person to buy up a whole downtown. I mean, it's pretty tough. And we're fighting the good fight. And yes, it's an improvement, yes. But the equity in our communities, wherever you're at, all over the United States, this equity in our community belongs to us. And here in Detroit, we have people come in and actually, it's very embarrassing, but they're buying up our real estate, foreclosure, whatever, and turning around and renting them back to us. I mean, they got to, what kind of dinner conversation do they have about Black people?
Right. Well,
I
see,
mean, really.
Herb, you're asking the right questions, but you were about 5 minutes ahead of me, because what I was telling you earlier about what I did was that when slavery started, we have never addressed the basic issue. I don't care what we do. We can fly off to the moon tomorrow. It won't make any difference unless we go back to this basic thing. You have to go back and redesign the social construct that slavery was built on. It means learning control of everything. So what happened during slavery was that Black folk were abused for production. They worked from sunup to sundown, 6 days out of a week. And they were producing, but what they were producing didn't go to them. It went to the slave owner. The slave owner got all of it. So black folk would clearing the land, building the bridges, the roads, the canals, building the government buildings, and protecting everybody. They built and designed everything, but they didn't get paid for it. So labor that they produced in those fields produced rice, tobacco, corn, cotton, everything. So whites took all of that. So whites picked up 100% of everything of value that Black folk were producing, went right into the white community. And it stayed there. So the slavery then, the whole point of slavery was to maldistribute 100% of everything of value in the society into the hands of white society. That means the wealth, the land, the resources, the businesses, the tools, the privileges, the rights.
I think his
The white
feed
side.
went out.
It's never been changed. We've been playing game. 99% go in, but now today, most 87% of everything of value, not only in America, but in Detroit, everything of value, 87% is now frozen inside of the white community. It's frozen in stocks, bonds, real estate, land, businesses. Every white person could put his hands on it anytime he wanted, whether he's in the suburbs of Detroit or inside Detroit. And so consequently, you don't have any resources to put your hands on. That means that a white child and a Black child born in Detroit at the same moment in the same hospital The white child gets 87% of everything he needs to be able to survive and prosper and own and control at birth. Because it's in his community, in his neighborhood, in his family, in his church, in his school, in his business, in his banks. Black child gets nothing at birth in Detroit. What he's born with, because our civil rights leaders have never focused on redistributing the wealth. So what they focus on things that are non-inheritable. The white child inherits everything he wants at birth. The black child is coming out this coming spring, because I'm making some corrections in that. And also things that you're talking about now in my PowerNomics book. I did not include the 7 things that you ought to be focusing on, but I'll talk about that later. That lays out a parameters, a basis for PowerNomics, but I didn't give you the 7 specific things you ought to be focused on after get. So in Detroit, you don't have a wealth base. Black folk in Detroit have 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in the nation. Blacks in the United States have 1/2 of 1%. Blacks in Africa have 1/2 of 1% of the wealth. Out of almost $400 trillion of blacks in Africa, have 24% with blacks in South Latin America, Caribbean of the population, but only on earth you can survive with 1/2 of 1%. So now what we're going to focus on now is get wealth. The wealth is the key. The average white person coming at the end of slavery, the average white person in Detroit had 3,500 more time than the average black in Detroit. He has 3,500 times more wealth than yours. I got 3 or 4 white men right now got more wealth than all 46 million black folk in America put together. You don't own and control the damn thing. So you got to always go out and beg for it. So in your program now, I don't want you all to do any begging. No more begging. No more begging. You're going to have to start demanding. And because right now, all the wealth in Detroit was 92% black city last time I was there. When it was 92, it's down now less than that. 92%. And they forcing you all to go around and beg for things. But everybody in and around Detroit, they're profiting off of you.
Yeah, so Dr. Claud.
Annual disposable income is about $3 or $4 billion. They could not survive in the suburbs or but see, black folk can never practice group economics. The way I taught them in the books, practice group economics, make sure that your money bounce 8 to 12 times before it leaves a black hand in Detroit, Michigan. And you got to build your own businesses, but to build your own businesses, you got no place to put them in Detroit because you don't have a community in Detroit. You don't have a community in Detroit. All you got to
So can I ask a question about that?
I'm sorry, huh?
Can I ask a question about that? Because that was one of the primary questions I had with regards to your book. Your book is very community-based with regards to location, but not all of us are in Detroit, for example, or Chicago. Like I live in rural part of America. However, I'm wondering, with the advent of the internet, with all of us, we've got, a couple hundred people here, do we maybe turn that community from a physical thought to a mindset group of people that come together, where now we're able to build vertical businesses that don't need a physical location? And then we're able to also do business from Detroit to Maryland, to California, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry?
You got to have a physical community and you have to have a sense of community. See, we are in Detroit, you need a sense of community. That's what you all are trying to build right now. You need a physical community as well as a sense of community. You got to build some place where black folk can come and aggregate their businesses. It is illogical to think that you're going to build a business. You're going to have one black business on the west side of Detroit, and you have one on the east side, and one on the south side, and one on the north side. And somebody's going to get in their car on a weekend to go shop and going to drive all over town trying to find them. You must have a focal point. And that's what all these other groups do. I'll guarantee you right now, if I come to Detroit, that the Mexicans are going to have a Mexican town and a focal point. That they're going to have a Polish town, a German town, Greek town, where they can come to one spot and park their car and go and shop. And that's what I'll be depending on people like Gary and Herb to do, to build you all a community where you can come and park your car and have a sense of community, where you can park your car and walk from one store to the next, where you don't even have a hospital, wherever it's going to be, or drug stores and community stores and supermarkets. It should all be in one location where people can know where to find you and come park. They're not going to drive all over town. And we don't have that. But when I go out west, California, and I'm talking about they're building a community, and I went out there and picked up about, I don't know how many acres of land right down the street in Inglewood, right across from the racetrack out there. And I was going to build a big community out there. You know why? Because the Mexicans in California do the same thing the Mexicans in Detroit want. They want your money. They live off of your money. They sustain themselves. You used to have 46 gas stations in Detroit. And out of those 46 gas stations, guess what? Arabs own 44 of them. Why are you buying gas from Arab gas stations? Why are you going to Arab supermarkets buying? Most of the time the food is old and was, I mean, I went there, my sister, she had bought a ham. The ham had green pus coming out of it.
Ugh, gross.
And I called, I can't think of the Shabal, what's his name? I can't think of his name now.
Malik Shabazz.
Shabbat, yeah. They went out there and after you close that damn place down, he went out there and closed it down on Livernois, around Herb knows that, what's that street? Around Webb back in there. I said, quit letting people mistreat you and sell bad food. If necessary, we can build our own stores.
Yeah.
Depending on our own people. Every other group find more comfort in buying from their own people than buying from anyone else. We do just the opposite. We take buying from other
Dr.
people.
Anderson? Dr.
Yes,
Anderson, you started talking about the racetrack that you wanted to buy. What happened with that? Because I know you have the plan.
Yes, and I had a black mayor in Inglewood, and I was buying it. When I bought it initially, I was setting it up under the premise that I'd be able to get that land right across the street from the Staples Center out there.
From the forum.
Land that was prime. I was going to build
From the
build out.
forum, Gary says. From the forum.
Somebody's talking. Who am I talking to?
It was across from the forum, Doc. But
What is it now? Where is it, Gary?
Where the Lakers used to play.
Yeah, right. That's it. Right. And I was putting in a hotel there. I was putting in a large restaurant there. My seafood factory there. And later I built it in Maryland though, where I was raising million pounds of fish inside my buildings a year. And I raised 9 million pounds of clean fish. I was the biggest seafood producer in the entire United States, producing it for Black folk. But then the Black folk didn't do vertical integration. I held on it for 9 years. They would halftime, right up the road, they wouldn't buy the fish from me to go buy it from the Asians. That's another that you don't want to hear because they didn't follow through on the vertical integration. It's time to restart. Are they cutting me off now?
No, you're still on.
Oh, no, you should be fine.
Yeah.
We have a package with Zoom, so.
They don't press any buttons. We're good. Don't respond to any of that.
I got to sign in, and I got to get to answer Herb's questions. These are a good question, and I can't see all of y'all because this thing is
Right. Yeah, Doc, I think the critical questions is like, right now, what should our community do now? You understand? Certainly we should invest in Black businesses. There's got to be a real serious effort to do that right now because everybody else invests in their community. That's one thing.
right.
But the other thing too is this, we're asking people to give us stuff, Doc. Give us this, give us that, give us this. Listen here, if interest rates are 2% and 3% and you can buy real estate at 7% and 8%, well, why do you need somebody to give you something? Why
That's
don't
right.
you go buy the real estate? I mean, what's the issue? I mean, they're not going to give us anything.
Okay,
We got to go out and harness the equity in our community for ourselves.
Buy it for yourself and spend your own money with your own people and buy it and control it. And
Right.
let me give an example. Now, that's a good question. How do you get it? One of the things I did before I left the Carter administration, because I went down, I started a special place for Black folk down in Miami, Florida, and Dade County, because we had Dade County Dade County had experienced 3 race riots from 1960 up to 1982. You know what the race riots were coming from? The Cubans were coming into Florida, and most of them was going into the police department because they were used to that down in Cuba. And they had killed Black folk, a number of Blacks all over the state, all over the city and the county. And Cuban police are always killing Black folk, and Black folks were rioting. And so what I did is I took some money. I took state money and federal government money, and that's what I want you all to start doing. I don't want you to be, you can ask our people and they can give to you, but you're gonna have to start demanding that I want you to start demanding that the state of Michigan, that the Wayne County and the city of Detroit started putting money into a special pot. And what I did, I told them, I said, no, I ain't taking that crap down in Miami. And I set up a special organization called Miami Capital and Miami Citywide. And I told them, I said, I'm gonna put money in that. I put almost $10 to $12 million in that pot. And I didn't beg black folk for it. I didn't ask black folk for a penny. But I said, you contribute to it, but you don't have to. The state, you pay the taxes. Right now, that whole thing with the lottery system started in Detroit, Michigan, where they're supposed to raise the money specifically to help black folk in Detroit. What has the lottery system given you all out of all that money? What is Wayne County giving you in a pot? And people like her could lead it and say, no, we ain't going for it anymore. Yes, we get money from our people, but we're gonna set up a special organization. You're gonna contribute money to this thing because your money that you're gonna contribute are the same money you're taking that we're driving out and dropping in the suburbs. You right now, your money is not bouncing in your community. It's going outside. And right now, all those people coming to your city that set up all these businesses, the Cubans, the Arabs, and the rest of them, they are coming here to freeload. They're not coming here to be your sisters and brothers. They're coming to America for the same reason they came during history. They came here to get free land and free labor, and then be involved and engaged in getting rights and privileges that black folk don't even have. And yet black folks keep sitting back, waiting on, say, well, we got to earn ours. You don't have to earn an damn thing. Those immigrants don't earn anything. They come here to freeload and talk. They're not your brothers. Well, Dr. Anderson, they're people of color. No. If they didn't enslave people of color. They didn't enslave minorities. They didn't enslave diversity. They didn't enslave multicultural. They enslaved black folk. The city of Detroit and the city of Wayne County, they owe you. I would demand a certain amount of money. In Miami, I picked up almost $10 to $12 million to set up Miami Capital and Miami Citywide. And I started 57 black businesses. 57 black businesses. I put the money into them. And I set up an organization where they could get the money, borrow the money out of that fund on low interest, and like at about a 1% interest rate. And it was could be subordinated beneath any other money they got from a bank, to make sure, guarantee that the whites could not turn them down. They went to the bank to borrow money. And I started 57 black banks in less than a year. Contribute. But most of these blacks don't have enough money for income. Their income down there in Detroit for an individual family might be about $19,000. Where the white family running something around like in Washington, D.C. They're running 15 or 20 times more in terms of income.
Well, Doc, there's one phenomenon that's true in Detroit and everywhere else where you all live out there, and that is that interest rates are low and rents are high. It's the most amazing thing. This has never happened in my lifetime, that you got great demand for housing and interest rates are very, very low. You could finance anything 110, 115%.
That's
so,
right.
You know, I would like to kind of throw out a couple of things. One, while I have everybody's attention here, I think it'd just be a wonderful idea to make sure everybody that's listening get involved with the 10K project. Certainly I am involved with them just as part of the team, so we can listen to people like yourself, Dr. Anderson, and we get a better education, and then we can select what projects we want to invest in. And then I also want from Strather Academy's point of view, and you know, I was lucky because, you know, I was born poor, and by me being able to close $2 billion in deals, you know, I've considered myself very fortunate. And the only reason I did that because I had a burning desire to do it, and I didn't have any money. So I had to figure out how to do it without money. So from Strather Academy point of view, we would want to tell everybody that is listening that we want to encourage you to leverage. You can leverage real estate and buy it 100%. I have never put any money down because you can leverage it and the banks will go with it if it's done properly. Strather Academy is our website. If anybody would like to go, just sign up. We'd like to kind of introduce you how you can leverage real estate without having to put up your money.
It's an excellent commercial.
That's a commercial. I know that.
I wanted to
I'll
ask
pay
a
my fine
question.
too.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Keisha.
I wanted to ask a question of Dr. Claud Anderson. Again, when you mentioned the 53 businesses, were you strategic in terms of how those were configured so that you could play out the vertical integration that you really know is important for our communities? Was there a strategy for how those were funded, and did it fit into a master plan? Because you already have the idea that that needs to happen. It's not enough that we just have, businesses here, businesses there. Was there kind of a umbrella plan by which they had to, when they got your money through your fund, was there anything tied to it? In that
to be perfectly honest with you, I must confess, at that time I had not developed my concept.
Oh,
Let me tell you that time. And so
okay.
I just shotgunned. I shotgunned because blacks have come into me and needed money. And I shotgunned to pick the best I could out of it, but I did not have the strategies in. But
So would you say that would be the strategy at this time with the Strata
Yes.
Academy and that kind of thing? We strategize in terms of buying the block and those
right.
kind of things.
And that's what Strather and Gary's trying to do right now. And I'm trying to get into a position right now where I'm gonna be able to help them this coming spring. What you're all trying to do right now.
Yeah, we want to help too.
I'm trying to do it on a national level.
I'm involved.
And Afra is asking, is the idea of vertical integration detailed in the PowerNomics book? The answer is yes. I wanted to make sure I answered that. Oh, somebody else already answered that in the chat. Dr. Claud.
But before you leave that, let me make a point. I told you to try to go after the city, the county, and the state federal government. Demand they put special money into a special fund that you all set up. That I'm going to demand that you all do. If you don't come up, I'm coming up there with a damn barbed wire switch and start flipping asses, okay? You all.
No, I think it's time we start holding our votes.
No more shucking and jiving. The day of shucking and jiving and begging is over. We're gonna get money. Now the second thing is all those businesses that you see coming in your community. I want them to start coughing up money too. They're not gonna get a free ride by coming into the black community, setting up businesses, and every night close up and take the money back to their neighborhood. They're gonna have to put in money, and you start telling them put out. I don't care if you put out flyers saying at this point we're raising money to do this kind of thing in this community. Everybody in City Detroit got an obligation to start putting in money into a special pot to help black folk overcome the legacies of slavery. That I mean, and don't you go another way. You do it. Now I'm nationally coming up pretty soon in the fall because that's the program I'm working on now. I'm going to be able to help some black people like Smathers and Gary, because I know what they're trying to do and they're doing a marvelous job. But I got other black businesses all over the country that are sitting waiting for me to do these kind of things. And I'm going to get money from whites. They got all the damn money hid out. They own 100% all the land from New York all the way to San Diego. You guys, you get off your dead ass up, put some money back into the black communities. Because I'm not asking black folk that they're taking their food stamp money and everything else given it to you. You get up off that money, and whites going to hear me, and they've heard me already around this country. And I've talked to people every damn day, and I just got off the phone this morning at 5 o'clock. I mean, at about 7:30. I said, no, I don't do that anymore. Homie, don't do that anymore. You're gonna get off stuff for black folk. And I tell people all over the country, and every show I go on, I say, I'm not interested in minorities, poor folk, people of color, crip, deaf, dumb, blind, one-eyed, one leg. I'm interested only in black people.
Right.
Overcome the legacies of slavery. And you're going to put up that money. You can't sit there and have all 87% of the money frozen in your neighborhood. You own all the damn land from New York to San Diego. They need land. And so last point I want to make for you, here it is right here, these last points, Cherry, on your analogy about PowerNomics plan. These things were not included in that plan. I held them off because I knew I had a lot of claim jumpers in America that would do nothing but sit back on their dead butts and wait for me to come up with an idea. They put their name on it. Mm-hmm. First, I'm in the process of now getting ready to trying to build a high-speed rail system for you all. And this thing will be running across the South, all the way across the United States, and it'll be called the Southern Flyer, okay? This will take you across the United States in 2.5 to 3 hours across the United States with a few stops in all these black cities where we're gonna build industries. And I'll be inviting people like Gary and Herb to participate and help constructing those damn.
Invite us too. Don't forget about us.
You're already here to do friends.
Beautiful lady.
I want every one of you, because to build a depot in a city, and it was Shreveport or Atlanta, Georgia, New Orleans, Dallas, all these places have been targeted. hotels, restaurants, reception areas, and everything around it, and plus build them out. But the first one on that is a high-speed rail system. The second thing is going to be that from now on, I want Black folks started calling them not African Americans anymore, started calling yourself Native Black Americans, because of that way that obligates white folks for doing something. White folk in this country feel they owe no obligations to Africans. And because they say Africans sent you here, that's their responsibility. But I call them Native Blacks. Third thing, that in the White House, I'm demanding that they set up a special office for Native Black Americans, that no legislation comes out of the White House, out of Congress, without having a Black there who would be our spy in the sky. A Black sitting by the door, be keeping us informed and assisting in making decisions that will be enhancing to Black folk. That's the third thing. The fourth thing I'm asking them for is they go back now, I want them to set up a commission that will go back and investigate what happened to the $57 million that was stolen out of all the Black banks, out of the freedmen banks.
All those years ago. Yeah.
There
white appointed bank commissioners. About $57 million from Black folk. And those banks went into effect for 10 years. And by the 10th, 11th year, every penny had been stolen. And went into those things just like you all talking about. That was money from slaves. Ex-slaves were depositing their money in there to be saved, put away, to help build something for Black folk. And the same thing for the Union soldiers that fought with the North. The salaries went into those banks, and they had $57 million deposited in there to help build what you all want to do. And the white overseers in those banks stole every penny paid to Black folk. I want that money back.
Yeah.
Same thing. I got lawsuits in right now about the Indian treaties. They owe y'all trillions and trillions of dollars. That y'all should be able to get your hands on without taking up nickels and dimes from Black folk. I want that money back. I got suits right now in the local banks here, in the judgeships. I got them in the Sixth Circuit Bank. I got them in the federal banks all over the country, and we're gonna get that money. We've been in that. I've been in lawsuits now for 13 years fighting for Black folk, and that's into trillions of dollars, and we're gonna get it. And now they've been trying to shuffle around, get around, and run me through all kind of games. I spent all my money, but that's coming close now. We're gonna get that money, trillions of dollars, going to a special deposit fund that Black folk can borrow that money to build businesses like you all want, and they can hire people like Strather and his school to teach them how to use it. You're all gonna get some credit. You all are special people. Damn it, you're special people, exceptional people. Nobody's been mistreated, maltreated like you. Don't think that you're just another damn immigrant. You are special. This country owes you. They owe you. And that's what I want you to start demanding from them. And the next point I want you to be able to do is not only that, to get that money from the federal in lawsuits, but also to get it from the banks, from the freedmen banks, and also have a special office put up inside the White House that will monitor everything going up and down on Black folk in the country. And I'm gonna have my high-speed railroad running at 250 miles an hour to 300 miles an hour going across this country. You're all gonna be recognized for being special people. Therefore, when you all go and ask for a few dollars here and there, you can get it. And you can tell Black folk that got businesses, that we want some of that money. But all those immigrants that got stores in your neighborhood, you telling me they're gonna, if they're not a part of the community, then get the hell out.
Right. And in the meantime, don't forget Killer Mike. You got a bank. You understand? Let us not forget, everybody, 10X. Let's not forget to get a good education in real estate. You can make it happen. But I do have a question I wanted to just throw out. I know there's a lot of brilliant people listening. You know, I just keep thinking about Facebook. You know, it's the biggest sandbox in the world. And I keep thinking also to myself, is there someone somewhere thinking about a Black social media, a Black sandbox? Because it's very segregated in the extent that they're all grouped together, they're in groups. There's tens of millions of Black people.
Yeah, actually, there's one that's already created by Tavania Evans. Oh gosh, Eric, Dr. Keisha, do y'all remember the name of it? I'm so embarrassed. Tavania Evans already created a Black social network, a social network for Black people. New NU something. I'm so embarrassed. If anyone remembers, put it in the chat. New Social. Thank you, Perez. New Social. And then
Hey,
Naja
Dr. Bruce
Roberts
has
is
one too,
mentioning
in the black.
Guapcoin by Tavania Evans as well. That's her own cryptocurrency that has been out there for years. So yes, I think part of the issue, and this is the question that I wanted to ask to Dr. Claude, and he also mentioned something in his book as well, the Black Business Investment Corporation, or BBIC. One of the things Dr. Claude mentioned initially was he's been trying to push this message for decades, and we haven't been listening. And I want to respond personally. This is Cherie only, not 10K Project, not anybody else. Whenever I read something like PowerNomics, or when I've been listening to the NAACP or listening to all these other organizations, it all seemed, for me, very overwhelming, because I wasn't sure of the little thing that I can do collectively with, you know, not all 40 million of us are going to do this. So let's say 1 million other Black people coming together to do X. And I think that one of the issues is, let's say Detroit. I don't live in Detroit, right? So people are going to gather either under Herb or somebody else in Detroit to do this. But
Are you still there?
I guess my question is an overall organization, even though I'm not a fan of organizations because they tend to get corrupted. You know, we've got all these civil rights organizations. It feels like there's no organization, and that's part of the reason. And when I say organization, I mean it in terms of a structure, as well as in terms of everyone is on code, who's going to be on code. What do you have to say with regards to that, Dr. Claude, about an organization, or is there one and we just don't know about it?
No, you don't have very many of anything. Most of them into social and political, because they don't understand the nature of politics. And one of the things I got out of 60 years in being in politics, being with governors and presidents, you know, for years, running campaigns for 2 governors, running campaigns for governors, state legislators, attorney generals. I was a campaign manager, not just participating, going out, passing out literature on the street. I was running the damn campaigns. Let me tell you what you do. What I try to do to shorten this concept for you all was this, is I structured what's called a 5-story building.
Okay.
You stay on track. 5-story building, which means the first thing you gotta do, you gotta have a piece of land to build these communities on. And I told you earlier that in this country, whites now got the land. They picked up over 2 billion acres of free land in America. And you couldn't get 40 acres. If you don't have any land, you got a problem. And what Black folks have started doing is demanding to get some of this land. And states have land now, and the federal government has land. Once you get that land, and I win this lawsuit under the Indian treaties, you can start putting up gambling casinos in those neighborhoods too. See, like those Indians going all around the country, going into Black neighborhoods, putting up gambling casinos. They're profiteering off of you. And remember, Indians were slave holders too. They were the last people to stop holding slaves in the United States. Quit thinking that somehow those are your color friends, your brothers. Indians don't care about you one way or the other. They're taking care of themselves. But let me go back to the point of always plan on building your businesses where every thing and where do we dominate? If you dominate in Detroit, you should dominate in owning the business in Detroit. And right now, as Herb told you a few minutes ago, you got 3 different white families in Detroit right now that own 99% of all the land, commercial land on the river in Detroit, Michigan. Now, you know what that means? That means you are exactly where you were in 1886. In 1886, Black folk owned 1/2 or 1% of the land in Detroit, Michigan. Here you are now, how long? From 1886 to this is not 2021, just about. And you're still in the same place, on the same amount of land. You own 1/2 or 1% of the property on the river in Detroit. And then and people like Herb and Stockton and Gary are trying their best to try to help you in that regard. You all have to start a demand and say, no, you cannot come in our city and control all the damn land, when land are the key. On a 5-story building, watch this now. On a 5-story building, the first floor should be your land. That's where you got to have some place to build something. You don't have, it's territory. That's why Moses went off trying to find the promised land. You got to go find the land. Once you get some land, then on that land, the first thing you do is build a business or business community. that will produce revenue, products, service, goods, income backs, and employment opportunities for your own people to produce products, services, and goods. So you must have. Don't try to get into politics. Politics is the second floor. Courts and the police department, the third floor, communications on the fourth floor, and education on the fifth floor. We have been taught to do things backwards, always saying that education will make the difference. And that's on the fifth floor. You blacks just run and jump up to the fifth floor and you'll be okay. Get an education. Then you wind up with a college degree working at McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and selling hamburgers out the window. No, you want to start at the first floor. First floor, get that economy and get money and services coming in, build wealth. Build wealth on the first floor. That's why all these immigrants come into America. They're not coming to America looking for a job. They're not coming to America to vote. They're coming in to build businesses at your expense. And once you build that business, and once they take your money and all around Detroit, if I were to go down to Livernois or Woodward and go to every one of those immigrant businesses, they're taking your money, and then as soon as they get enough of your money, they're going to get into politics. Politics is the second floor. Once they get into politics, and you use your money to control the second floor. Don't worry about politics if you don't have an economy. It's not going to work. Once you get the money, you can control every politician in Michigan and Detroit, and every politician you can't vote in. You can either buy or rent them with your money. Don't worry about it. And if you can own them and rent them and control them by money, as the first floor controls the politicians. Then the politician on the second floor, then you put pressure on them to control the police department. So the police won't be shooting your people every night, dragging them up and down the street, breaking in your houses. And so the second floor controls the third floor, again, which is the court systems and the police department, law enforcement. Then the fourth floor is the media. You got to have radio, TV. Where are your radio stations and TV stations? And they'll come inform your people. You sit there all day long and watching the white folks talk about issues. And like, who cares what they think about you? Who's talking about your issues and your time and your problems? That's the fourth floor. Get some radio and TV stations. And then you go to the fifth floor, which is school system. You can make school systems do anything you want them to do. There's no power in school systems. There's no power. The only power they got is to train people to be able to carry out what you want on the first floor. And that's what Gary and Herb is talking about. Teaching Black folk through educational situation how to own and control resources and money to build. It's what you own and control that will determine your opportunities, not integration nor civil rights. Civil rights now belongs to gays, women, and transsexuals and poor people. And a poor white person right now has 10 times the wealth of a poor white person, poor Black person. I said the gaming has to stop. And I got old enough now to tell people that, and I don't give a damn what they think about me.
Chris asked
Since the 1950s and 60s, I was telling the whole civil rights groups, you're wasting time BSing Black people. And to get what I need was social. You don't need no damn social, you need some money.
That's right, we do. Chris asked a great question in the Q&A here. I'm gonna change his wording a little bit.
Who is that?
But Chris Myers asked a great question. He asked, what is the best way to reach impoverished Black people with this information? Like the majority of us, we're, let's say, middle class, but Chris is asking about some of the impoverished people, that are out there kind of on the outskirts. What's the best way to reach them with this information?
The best way to do is what I said to you earlier. Really, you got to build a community or a sense of community. So inside of community, you got your organizations. Inside of community, you got to have some basic institutions. You know what your basic institutions are? The first one is what? Your family. You got to have family. You got family organizations. You got schools. They're responsible. They teach you the same thing I'm telling you. That's why they're trying to teach these Black people how to raise money and be self-contained. You don't have to get along with everybody. It's not your responsibility trying to get along with everybody who moves into the country or comes in as an immigrant. You need to be trying to take care of your own people first. And I used to tell people years ago that I'm a pilot, but I don't fly anymore. I would kill my damn self now, but I wouldn't fly. But I just tell my pals, my passenger second, that if we take off, we get, in particular at night, it'll get over 10,000 feet and 30,000 feet in the daytime, we lose cabin pressure and air oxygen. I said a mask will fall down from over your head. That mask falls down on the plane, and you're losing, and you're having get ready to have an oxygen problem. First thing you do is do what? You put the mask on yourself first. I said, quit trying to get up and pretend somehow that you got the moral obligation to save the world. The poorest people in the world, any place on the earth, are Black folk. Why are you always trying to save every damn body? You need to get up on an airplane, the plane is going down, you got no oxygen. You say, is anybody back there need a mask? And you poor people, and you gays or women or gender or poor people or crippled or deaf, dumb and blind, and you all need a mask? And I said, well, you sit your butt down and save yourself first. And that's what you all got to do in the choice. Save yourself first so you can begin to start saving and bringing your money together. Start amassing your wealth, accumulate wealth. Remember, wealth is a product of labor. You started saving that money, and once you get it, started owning property, developing properties, learning how to start producing things, product and service. You need everything that white folks need. You need glasses, shoes, and clothes, and everything else. Started producing your own products and service and buying from your own people. And then people started with Dr. Anderson, I can get it cheaper from whites. You start using what we call product analysis, cost benefit analysis, which means that it doesn't make any difference where you get the cheapest from. It's where you get the most benefit from where you spend your money. Mm-hmm. Just because your white bread might be a little softer than the Black bread, you want to go buy the white bread. No, you buy the hard bread if necessary, and tell the Black person that's selling you that, I'm gonna buy this bread from you for a little while, but you better start getting some soft bread down the line. I did that out in Spokane or Spokane. I talked to Black folk. They only had one gas station. They said he's going out of business because nobody goes to his store. I said, I said, why not? They said, because it's not clean, it's dirty, and it's too many people hang around it. I said, you go out and tell him that I told you all, that you would start buying all your gas from his gas station. But by the same token, you're going to hold him accountable. Mm-hmm. So I started cleaning that place up, started getting good products, keep his prices normal as best he can, and make sure that nobody's going to rape and rob and hurt our children when they come around there, or rob our women, or rape our women, and anything else. And then you would buying gas from him. Now, guess what? In about 3 weeks' time, no, that's the tail. It wasn't 3 weeks. I don't know, maybe it was a month later. One of the newspapers from that out there, people sent it to me. Front page had a big picture of Black folk lined up for 2 or 3 blocks in their cars. Guess what they were doing? Going down there buying his gas. And he's taking his money now and improving his gas station.
Good for him.
And having a place where he can go in there buy other things, and the things they need, like confession items. So that made a big difference. And people sent me letters and said, Dr. Anderson, it worked. We only got one Black gas station, but every Black in that city now buys their gas from him. And that, I must have put Herb to sleep, so he ducked out on me.
No. Herb is wide awake. Eric, I did want to give you a chance to ask a question.
I do have a question. First of all, Dr. Anderson, thank you. It's an honor to talk to you, sir. I have to tell you, this book was very pivotal, in shaping my thoughts of Black.
What was that? Black Labor, White Wealth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And I have to tell you, in page 199, you talk about Blacks altering their thinking and understanding the contributions we have made to capitalism. And I say that because right now there's a current, within our current atmosphere, many people are believing that socialism could potentially be a viable option for Blacks. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, socialism went out when slavery ended. See, slavery was socialism. That's why all whites came to this country, to enjoy the fruits of socialism. They came here. See, as a matter of fact, they even carved on the bottom they carved the socialism on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. What does it say? What's the first 2 sentences? Give me what?
All of your
what? You're tired.
Tired. Poor. Yes. And
the people who don't want to work anymore and just want wealth. See, they came here and got free land. Every white person came here, was eligible to get 650 acres of free land. And they got another 150 acres of free land for every slave they owned. They profiteered off you. They didn't come here. They came here to get free land and free slave labor. That was what they call the American dream. You hear all these people, including Obama, talking about we got to uphold the American dream. They never tell you what the damn American dream was. The American dream was go to America and get everything free. You see all these people pouring into the country now. That's why Biden, the first thing he said is that and within the first 100 days, we got to take care of immigrants. How the hell you taking care of immigrants and these damn blacks are voting to put you in the office? You jump across them and gonna take care of immigrants who weren't even in the damn country. See, that's that thing that they've been playing that game on you all for the longest. That's why one of the first things I want to do is start a black party in America. And see, because if you got strength, you got 46 million black folk in America. If you all just were to disqualify or disengage from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, say, we're going to create our own national black party. And we will vote for whoever promises the most and votes for black folk and delivers to black folk. You got power then. And then you tell them, well, you will vote as a block. And every time an election comes up in Detroit, Michigan, or in the state of Michigan, you say, we'll go out and we're going to vote as a block. Totally strong that you can get every black vote in Michigan if black folk. Do you know how powerful you all would be right now in Detroit if you were to say it in Detroit or in Michigan? If white folks knew, said, damn, those blacks are going to vote across the board for whoever does something for black folk. Now, you all never demand anything for black folk. One of my friends, Alfredo Duran, who was a Bay of Pig hero, when the President not Johnson, Kennedy, they got into that thing with Cuba about the missile crisis. They saw it in the Bay of Pigs was invaded, and they lost down there. And but Alfredo Duran was a hero for the Bay of Pig in the Cuba fight. And he told me, he said, Doctor, he said, one of the things that's different, he says, because your people always want to beg. He said, y'all don't stand up for a damn thing. Y'all always want to. He said, the difference is y'all beg for it in March. And said, well, your black leadership, they figure that anytime y'all need something, get out in March. He said, that's a demonstration of weakness. He said, that's weakness. He said, why do you always, you're telling people we're weak. We're so weak, we got to march and beg. And he says, and that's why y'all never get anything. Then I found one book way back in one history book. And I asked myself, I said, I got to find out why white folk hate black folk so much. Why do they hate them? You know what I found out it was? White folk in that time, in that book called There's No Honor in Slavery. It's because slavery marked you all as being weak people. They said slaves are weak people. They have no group self-interest, and they never focus on, and they have no unity. So we take their wealth from them, and we take their social cohesiveness away from them. They'll never come together at any time, any place, and work together on anything. And that guy was Yasser Hara in his book. I mean, still his book on my shelf right here someplace. Y'all do. So when you start changing those things, you ought to be a power source. If white folks say, you know what, in this coming election, I don't have to know anything, but I know that in Detroit, Michigan, and America, that 46 million blacks are going to vote solidly for whoever delivers to black folk. And so the consequences, like in next year, if I'm in good health, hell, in maybe another year, I might decide and announce I'm going to run for the president of the United States. And I said, and I'll tell black folk right now, if I run, they were trying to put me on the ballot the last time. And 2 or 3 people I know in the media says, let's stop them because we don't want to put you out there. You're not interested. I tell them, hell, if I got some strength, I'll run for the president. Tell black folk, vote for me. I'll take care of you. And I said, and I don't give a damn who else runs. You can run Biden, Obama, anybody. But they ain't gonna do anything for black folk. I said, I'll take care of black folk. The rest of you people, you get what you deserve. And then if you don't vote for me, you don't get any damn thing. If the person, you're supposed to take that's why you swear an oath. You swear an oath in politics saying, I promise to take care of and protect and serve those who put me in office. They say that for everybody except black folk. Black folk give the same Democratic Party 96 to 98% of their vote in every election. And guess what? They get nothing because they don't demand anything. Even Clinton told me in the White House one day, he said, I'm absolutely amazed that of all the benefits that black folk have, work, get me in office, that not one has ever demanded anything from me specifically, other than that I appoint somebody to give somebody a job, or I come to some party or dinner they're gonna have and buy some chicken dinner tickets. He says that's all they ever demand. Okay, Herb, I know you're waiting for me.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna give Robin a chance to say something really quickly.
Thank you, Sheree. I just want to say that I'm honored to be in the presence of Dr. Claud Anderson. I know we spoke, we were on a couple calls, but I wasn't verbal. I'm just kind of soaking it all in, and I appreciate everything that the 10K project is doing. all the wonderful people on the board, Dr. Keisha Waddell. Eric, this is my first time seeing you. Just honored to be on behalf of Shredder Academy.
And see what you just said. That's why I love Black folk. I love the attention I get from these Black women all over the country. They have lines. They have hug lines in different cities. Where I've hugged as many as 2,000 and 3,000 Black women in one day. They have hug lines out in California where Sheldon is talking about. They would line up in the church. They go all around the church and outside. All these women come up and give you hugs. And I just sit there all day long with powder, mustache, all these. I said, I love these hugs from these Black women because I would fight to death for Black folk. It sounds stupid, but I just love Black folk. I just been afflicted with that disease or whatever it is you might call it every day on earth. And now I'm old, and before I leave here, I'm going to continue fight for Black folk. I'm not against anybody. I don't want you all to be against anybody, but I'm damn sure totally, absolutely, wholeheartedly committed to saving Black folk because everybody else urinates on them. And I'm not going to let nobody mistreat them anymore as long as I'm alive.
Well, we definitely want to do our part with the community as well. I will say, because the 10K Project is applying to be an equity crowdfunding portal, there's a lot of stuff that we are not able to do as an organization. However, the co-founders individually and I are definitely supportive of the efforts with regards to pulling our communities together geographically, as well as industry-wise. There's, a lot of money that is supposed to be earmarked for Black people since the whole George Floyd thing from these big corporations. We didn't talk tonight about where are we getting our fair share of those contracts. There's so much happening out there that if we all came together under one umbrella saying these are the 7 things, this is our code of conduct, like Dr. Claud has laid out for us, and we collectively, I honestly, I know that there are 40-something million Black people. I'm looking for the first 500,000 to 1 million that say, hey, let's come together and let's do this. And the 10K Project is a piece of the puzzle, because some of these people are going to say, I know how Herb says you can do all this stuff without money, but sometimes it may require us to put a couple $100,000 together so that somebody else will come in and give us 20 million. And that's where the 10K Project comes in. I will also say something else that Dr. Claud didn't mention tonight that I just personally believe. There are a lot of businesses that are going to be for sale in the upcoming years. We as a people have an opportunity to not only start businesses that are community-based, but to buy some of these businesses as well. There's a Black entrepreneur who bought a business in New Jersey making auto parts. Now it's a close to $2 billion business. He bought that business. I'm asking all of these questions. There's a huge wealth transfer that's about to happen. We can be in a position I believe that there needs to be some sort of, not physical organization, but some sort of organization where we all say, okay, this is where we go to figure out what the code of conduct is. And I know Dr. Claud has done a lot of work on that. And then we'll have different organizations like the 10K Project that are different pieces of the puzzle so that we can actually implement. And Strather Academy as well on the real estate front. How do we get this land? How do we set ourselves up?
All you got to do is start coming together. And remember this, and I got to get off now.
Yes, sir.
This is extremely important. This is point 7 and 8 on the list I was given. You got to start acting like you're exceptional people. There's nobody in this country, on this continent, that's like Black folk. You're the only people. You're the first original people on earth. You're the first people in this country. You're the only people denied the right to own property. The only person denied to enjoy the fruits of your labor. The only person denied the right to have an education, denied the right to be married and have children, or to be able to have weapons, tools, and lands and animals. You are exceptional people. You're the oldest people. You're the only people that's fought in every war this country's ever been in. No other ethnic group has ever fought in every war with this country except Black folk. Everybody else in this country, I don't care what their racial, ethnic extraction is, they have fought this country. You're the only purpose. You're the most patriotic people in this country. Stand up for yourself and say we are special people and we're exceptional people. And that's our footage. That's what you're going to stand on that platform and have some self-respect, and you're all on the right track. I congratulate you, and I wish you well on your project for your K program.
Thank you.
I'll help you in the way I can. You got some good people around you right now. I know you got Herb Strather, and you got and Gary there. You're good, and I know the rest of you out here today. Y'all are together. Just look up and look in the mirror and say, every time you walk past the mirror, say, Dr. Anderson wants to look in the mirror and say, what you see in there is the most special damn thing on earth. Look in that mirror and see it and say, I love that person. Then turn your hand up like this and say, and don't let people mistreat you and mislead you anymore. And Herb and Gary know I'll help you all in the way I can. I love y'all to take care. And I got to run off right now to give me hands saying that you're a sick person, get off. And I love you. And as Gary said, I could talk. I've given speeches that have run 8 hours. 8 hours out breaks. So I'm used to doing that, so it doesn't bother me. But I love you all, and please forgive me for having such love for Black folk. But I hate to have to apologize for that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Dr. Claude. We really
Well,
do.
I appreciate you all, and I love you all.
Love you too. Love you right back.
Love you right
And when you do some good things, girl, I'm gonna be the first one to come to Detroit and give all of you hugs. Okay.
Get to see Dr. Keisha in Detroit. Not to fly over there. Good night.
I love you all.
Everybody.
Okay.
See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.